wondering why your skills seem to disappear when you are on stage playing in front of people, or maybe even when you're playing in front of your parents or your friends or your whatever. As soon as there are people in the room, your skills might just go down a little bit. And when you're on stage and, the music's playing and it's your time to play that solo, that might be the point where you just drop to, a tenth of the skills you used to have when you were at home practicing. Why is that? Well, there's a very simple explanation for that. And it's the same explanation in most other areas of life. The Navy SEALs has a saying that goes, "You do not rise to the occasion, you drop to your level of training." And that's said in another way. What you can expect to have available to you when you get into a stressful situation is what you can do unconsciously almost, is what you can do with no effort. And the same thing goes for martial arts, that when you're out, you can practice and train yourself to all kinds of things, but when you are battling another person, you will simply drop to that level where if it's a stressful situation, which it is because the other guy's kicking or punching you, right? And so you drop to that where it's almost instinct. And when you train something into your nervous system, you're adding to your instinct. So how do you make that punch happen is determined whether by the level of training you have. And the key word here again and again and again is mastery, because that's the level of mastery, really. If you can do something while talking to friends or while being on stage and being very nervous and you make that thing happen anyway, that means that you have mastery over that skill. Because you don't need to be the situation to be just right. You don't need to be the room temperature to be at a specific level, and you won't need anything. It's just easy. It's like easy. Could you brush your teeth in front of 1,000 people, successfully without failing? Of course you could, because you've been doing it 1,000,000 times. And the same thing goes for playing guitar. So there isn't really such a thing as showing off on stage, because it doesn't feel like showing off once you master it. We strive to get our skills, and then we imagine that when we get to the top of the hill, that it will feel amazing to master those skills. It does feel amazing, but in a very different way than because you master skills already. How do you feel amazing every day for being able to whatever it is that you master? What's easy to play on your instrument? That's really what you master. And you don't feel amazing about that every single day. It's cool because now you can play music and have fun, right? But it's not something that, whoa, I played those 2 chords without even thinking about it, right? And when you're on stage and you have perfect technique and whatever it is, or you play that perfect solo with no preparation because you're so good at improvising in whatever style of music, when you do that, then the whole feeling of, I'm going to show you my skills here, disappears, because your skills feels like, it's just like brushing your teeth. It's not that hard anymore, so you don't feel that need, or most people don't feel that need of showing it off, because it doesn't feel like something special once you have it under your fingers, and really have it under your fingers. So going on stage, which is my point here, going on stage trying to impress people is the worst point you can come from. And I came from that point every single time I went on stage when I was younger. And that made me really get the most amount of stage fright, because it was all a matter really of me being in that peak moment there where, I would show people what I could do on this instrument. And then my skills would drop, 50%, 75%, something like that. And I was equally frustrated every single time. It's not until you come to the point where it doesn't matter really, in that situation anyway, whether you show off or not. And you have to remember something that's very, very crucial. When I was in high school, I went on stage at some point and I played the Johnny Be Good solo, which is some of the simplest stuff, stuff like that, right? And I was all into, Paul Gilbert shredding at that time, and all advanced stuff and advanced scales. And so I played that solo. And it was the most amazing experience because people patted me on the back and said, "Way to go! That was amazing! That was awesome!" And we often forget that people, a general audience, doesn't really care about you playing, that alternate picking lick and getting every stroke right. We don't care about that. We just want to see you rock, if that's what you do, right? Or play a cool solo. They want music. They want an experience. And so when we go on stage trying to, okay, now everybody's looking to me to see how good I am. This is a test. It's not a test. Nobody wants it to be a test. People come to hear you play, not to hear you show off or to stroke your ego. So you can comfortably and safely just cut 50% of your skills and just go with that. Go with what works, right? Go with the simple stuff that really works, that you really master. And you'll have, and the paradox is, you'll have much greater success doing that when it comes to audience recognition than you have if you really try to, this is a test, right? And these days, people are recording everything, so you can be sure that if you're struggling to play a solo and you really, play the wrong scale, it's recorded for all eternity. So that puts an extra pressure on you. So you really don't have the option of going on stage trying to impress people because it's not going to work out very well. You have to lower your expectations of your skill level and raise the expectations you have of how much fun you can have with what you really want to play and really know how to play, really master, and the difference you can make for your audience using much simpler tools than you're used to when you're playing and practicing. Those two arenas are very different. So that's the main point here, and that's really the way to get out of stage fright, because stage fright comes. You need a healthy little push there where you're just a little bit nervous, because that really stimulates you to do your best. But when it becomes counterproductive and you play, you hate the situation and you're not really having fun and you're not doing your best anymore, then it becomes dysfunctional. And that is always because you're bringing yourself onto the stage as if this was a test of you, as if this had much to do with you. This is a team thing, right? You're playing in a band, right? And you're trying to give to people. So it isn't about you. It's about the audience. It's about the band. It's about the music, right? And if you have that kind of perspective on it, and that's not easy to get, but really watch this video over and over and over again, and it seems to make sense at some point that's the point you want to get to in your development, and step out of that me. I want to show people what I can do, because at some point, if you keep practicing and if you keep focusing on getting better, you will play that impressive stuff, because that impressive stuff will be really easy for you to play. So that's the first thing you need to focus on if you want to get out of your nervousness, is how do you look at that situation? What expectations do you have of yourself? And then remember that you do not rise to the occasion. Drop the fantasy. You drop to your level of training. And that is the level of mastery you have over the things you really know how to play. Secondly, you can actually do something actively to desensitize yourself to that situation by making sure that you, on a regular basis, play in front of other people. Maybe your best friend, because that's the safest thing you can do. And then when that's nothing, you do that on a regular basis, just make sure you have your guitar nearby and then say, can I play a little bit for you? Because I get really nervous and my skill level drops drastically when I do so. So if I can just play a little bit in front of you, that will help me. And then you do that on a regular basis over and over again. And once that is comfortable, you add another person and you add another one. And then you perhaps, take your guitar with you, sit down in the street on a bench and play for people who are just walking by. And then you can, that's the only way out of it. You have to provoke that fear. You have to eat it up in little bits. And that's the only thing that really works, because your body needs to experience that you are not going to die by playing in front of other people, and they're not going to judge you harshly. Just don't play anything and upload it to YouTube, because people are just mad when they get the chance to be anonymous. And that can really, if you're not used to that, then that can really bring you down. When you get used to that, by the way, then that's absolutely nothing. You just get used to people calling you all kinds of things. So that's really also very useful when you get to that point. Using YouTube as a way of exposing yourself to negative feedback, and then just at some point just you don't care anymore, because those people are always out there. I'll see you in another video.